keep your mics on. They are not very noisy, so it's okay.
Okay.
Cool. So the position we want to really cover is this position after white tries to hang on to the pawn. And the dangers of holding the pawns are known, but you know, like with the advent of computers, one of the things that has happened is that players are not afraid to hold on to pawns, especially if they've prepared it before. But holding on to this pawn is something that I found is actually very dangerous. So e4, e6, and when you play knight f6 here, then they want to play e6, c4, holding on to the pawn. And here you don't even bother. So the first idea is this. In this position, I do want you to know that you can also play c6, leading to similar positions. But let's look at this idea of playing e6, and after take on e6, simply bishop takes e6. I think accepting this is too risky, and the simplest way to play for white would be to just return the pawn and play d4. And here you get this position, which you reach also through the French. You know, in the French, if you play the exchange French, let's say e4, e6, d4, d5, and play take, c4, knight f6, you pretty much reach the same position, which is similar to this one, which is similar to when you play d4 here and black takes. But anyway, bishop e6 is what we are looking at. So here, let's look at the one which looks most menacing, d4. If you think about it, before white plays d4, in compensation for the sacrificed pawn, what is black gotten?
He's up development.
Yeah, he's got a lead in development. He's got 2 pieces out, and white has got 0. And in most variations, black will castle queenside, and this really fits in with this opening. And he will place the rooks on the 2 open central files, which will give him more mobility also of his of his pieces. So black plays d4, and it's quite logical, but it's actually dubious when you look at the results that it produces. Much better here perhaps is to play knight f3. But you know, people like stuff which looks scary for your opponent. d4, and here you play check, and okay, bishop d2, knight c3 is no better, and if we have enough time we'll be able to look at why that is so. But bishop d2, and here you take with check, and queen takes. And now here you place your first threat, queen to e7. So you want to discover here. And in this particular game, which we're going to look at, white played queen e2, and this is a mistake. Much better maybe is to play queen e3. And again, we'll look at this at some point. But let's go and look at queen e2. Now, why is queen e2 bad?
It traps your bishop. It traps the bishop.
That's true, but it's not the biggest nightmare about queen e2.
I think because of discoveries and the white bishop being on the same square as the queen.
Yeah, well, the idea is that on e3, the queen would be keeping an eye on d4. On e2, it really just doesn't do anything. And this gives you an idea of what would be the ideal move to play for black.
Knight c6.
Knight?
Yeah.
Knight c6, right? Okay, interesting enough, I looked in the database and I found quite a lot of games where people played this thinking it's a nice tactic. And it's a blunder.
Because the queen takes queen and then you take the bishop.
Exactly, yeah. But optically it looks nice, right?
I was also calculating that at first, so...
So knight c6, yes, is correct. Interesting.
What happens if he tries to fork you?
I think that's very critical. You have to really actually work that out before you commit yourself to knight c6.
Yes, if he
I mean-
forks knight d4.
And then bishop...
Okay, in the game, knight f3 was played after knight c6, so we can maybe discuss this. If you play this, now you have a problem, knight d4. Now, the queen on e2 is overloaded. It needs to keep an eye on c2 so that you don't play knight c2 check. At the same time, it can't leave the e file.
But you can play knight c3 check, knight c2 check. Because if the queen takes, then you have a discover... Oh no.
You're making
No.
the same
I
mistake.
forget
which
it's a
you-
queen.
Yeah.
Forget it's a queen.
You're making the same mistake which we were discussing just now. But after here, it's actually lost because you can't do both. You can't stay in the e file and keep an eye on c2. But it's interesting that it wasn't clear a move ago that this is the threat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. So that's why you find that white plays knight f3 in this position. Yeah, so it becomes very interesting already because black has got a huge initiative in this position. So what do you do?
You castle. I mean, you could castle queenside and apply pressure as tempo.
Very good. Makes sense,
Yep.
Jeremy?
Yeah. I already went through this position before.
Oh, good. So castle's putting pressure on d4 and renewing the attack, right? So he goes
Yes.
d5. And it's the only way really of defending this pawn. If knight c3, what do you do?
You take on d4 with the rook.
Very good, yeah. Very nice. Again, you have the same dilemma which we were speaking about earlier, where the queen has the task of
Is
keeping an eye.
overloaded.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so after d5, what do you do?
Oh, knight b4.
Nope.
Oh,
I want to say
remember.
queen before. Wait, no.
I remember now.
It's okay, you can say quickly, it's okay.
Rook e8.
Rook h e8. This actually
Yeah,
really
H8.
surprised me. This actually surprised me. It's a good move. Without worrying about the fork or material. And here,
It looks like he just blundered a piece, but yeah, okay.
I know, yeah. Knight c3 was played, but now let's look what happens if he takes. Let's start with taking the bishop. What does white do in this position?
I mean, you could give a check on queen b4, and
Absolutely.
then you take the pawn with your rook.
Yeah, and this is clearly winning, right? So after queen b4 check, knight here, rook takes, and material falls. So this one is straightforward. What about if he takes on c6?
Even easier, you just give a check. And
And
That's
now,
the same.
same idea, right?
mm,
Just in a different way.
yeah.
Okay. So after knight c3, what does black do?
Queen b4, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say that. But I don't think it doesn't really achieve much
This,
because we
this
want to overload the queen.
yeah, but this move, like, just shows you class. The next move, it's not queen b4. Queen b4 would kind of
I
seem.
think queen d6. No, that the queen is still there. I think something's telling me it's a maneuver to attack the queen.
Oh, do you just take on d5 with your knight?
You the bishop, actually.
Bishop.
Yeah, that's actually opening lines, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, I mean this is impressive. Of course, queen exchange. Okay, in the game he played knight takes d5, but queen exchange doesn't work because now
Because you just give a check and then you give it discovered.
exactly. And after bishop e2, he takes on c4, and you've got issues.
What if you take on f3?
You mean now,
Oh,
he takes with the pawn, right? Just pawn takes.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay, but bishop c4 is strong. Okay, let's go back. So taking on e7, that doesn't really work. So after bishop d5, if he takes with the pawn on d5, and then now we have queen b4, right? And after d takes c6, we have queen b2. Very nice. Simple. Again. Maybe a better try for white after bishop d5 is to castle long. But even this is not
Efficient.
yeah. Here, queen d3 and bishop f3, queen f3, rook d1 check. And now you have a problem. If you take with the knight, rook e1, this pin is annoying and the king is not out of the woods yet. There's already a threat of rook takes f1, rook takes and queen c4 check, picking up the rook on f1. So you'd be forced to take with the king, and after queen b6, attacking b2, you have a dilemma again. King comes here, then rook e1 is strong, and if you play b3, now he's got this queen d4 check, and after king c2, knight b4 check, king b2. All these moves are fairly forcing, and
Queen d2.
yes, exactly. Queen d2 check, king a3, knight c2 check, king a4.
And you're just winning because the king is out in the center.
Yeah, and also getting checkmated is not good for your health. So anyway, so it looks simple, but the position is already quite critical for white. So after bishop takes d5, he plays knight takes d5. Okay, what do you do?
Oh, you take the queen.
No,
You take the knight with your knight.
Exactly, you take the knight because
It's a free piece. Well,
in a way, yes,
well,
it is.
no,
a,
it's just
it is a free piece. But what I found
at a cost.
what I found with an engine here was actually fascinating. You know, like one of those things. Like normally you wouldn't check a winning position because it's already winning, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's an engine. It's gross.
yeah, no. What I'm saying is like, yeah, you think, okay, he was winning. Why bother? And this is true. Most chess players, they hardly are critical of the games they won. They will be critical of the games they lost. But here,
Yeah.
Queen C5 is stronger. And this was very hard for me to to grasp it because
It doesn't do anything.
no, because it doesn't win the queen. Because now you can play knight e3, right?
Yeah.
So from a practical point of view, a move like knight d5 makes sense. Just because you're clear piece up, and for humans,
That's easier.
not okay. You're not a clear piece up, but the position is easier to convert or to play because you have a clear advantage, right? Queen c5 is
Yes.
strong because let's say he goes knight e3. Now he has to struggle with moves like these ones, like this check, because the king can't move.
Yeah. Knight is forced to block.
Yeah. And once you
And then
realize
after
that,
knight e4.
yeah, the simple knight e4 might be very strong.
I mean, at the moment the queen is useless. So
Yeah. But what I found here was some amazing analysis. I think knight d4 was even stronger.
Yeah.
Or queen-
because
or queen
I'm calculating that knight d4, queen d3, and then knight e4.
But you can see, okay, but it's just like now the things we would be worried about. Okay, this is working, knight takes d4 and knight takes d5, sorry. And after queen e7, what do?
you take up the knight. Actually, yeah, you can take up the rook. It doesn't actually matter.
Exactly, yeah. Very important to take with the rook because it's much more dynamic. Now you can't play bishop e2 because now knight f4 is strong. So white plays king d1.
But what if you just take
He's just setting himself up.
What did
You
you
can
say?
give a double check now.
True, but Jeremy, what were you saying?
I'm saying the bishop. If he played bishop e2, he's losing the bishop.
Yeah.
So it's forced in a way.
He doesn't
But
have
I
a-
was wondering, what if he, instead of taking the queen, he just takes the knight with the pawn?
Oh, okay, then he loses the queen.
Yeah.
But I think he can have a sort of better position in a way.
I don't think so.
I mean, he's still losing.
Because it's not just the queen. Let's say, for instance, knight here. That's the move.
It's also quite positional because he's still lacking development for that rook and bishop.
I think this is just terrible.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I mean, if you
wondering-
think about it, queen takes b2 is quite strong.
yeah, I mean, already also you've got... Yeah, I'm not so sure how you can survive this.
I mean, you can't survive any of the moves further
Yeah.
from this position.
So here, rook e7, he goes king d1. And now,
Knight e3.
yeah, correct. Knight e3 just finishes him off. Game over. It's not in the sense that he can still try to defend, but there's so many ways of losing here. Because,
Yeah.
Actually, it's just losing. I think it's a forced mate.
yes, it is amazing. Okay, so let's say knight d2. Oh, it's a double check.
Yeah, it's a double check.
Yeah, it's a double check. So, yeah.
King
This
E2 doesn't lose
makes-
instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many ways.
If you ask me.
Yeah, maybe he can dodge mate, but he's definitely losing. After,
No, isn't that mate?
This is just resign word, man.
King E2 is the only move.
This is cool. But what is fascinating is that White was an experienced adult with a rating of over 2000, and Black was a 15-year-old with a rating of 1435.
No way.
Yep.
I don't buy that.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, wasn't he playing against the women's champion or something?
No, not this one. Not this
Oh,
one.
this is a different game.
This is a different game. But it's quite impressive. But you can tell that Black knew his lines, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so if someone...
Is that why opening is also very important?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think we can go on the old opinion of yesteryear of like, oh, no, the opening is not very important. It's very important.
Yeah.
You don't do it right, it can result in disaster.